Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Today, I'm in conversation with Gopalaswamy Ramesh, also known as G. Ramesh, an industry veteran and also my senior at IISc. In this episode, Ramesh shares his experience and perspectives related to his interest in software and programming that was fueled by an IIT professor who taught him programming. How his experience with facing customers helped in an assignment of setting up a QA environment at the Oracle headquarters, and how that later was a turning point in his career. The trigger for his getting into writing and authoring books, some of which are standard curriculum recommendations in about 50 universities across the world. How, as a technical person, you may have all the answers, but as a leader, you should have all the questions and a lot more. Please bear with some audio distractions in the background in patches. You'll love this story. Listen now. Hi, Ramesh. Welcome to the Software People Stories podcast. I still remember our first meeting when I came to meet you before joining IISc to take guidance from you in terms of how the institute will be. And this is the first time that I was also coming out of home, so to say. And since then, I've always looked at you for a lot of ideas and many things that you've done, which probably people don't know. But then even small things have definitely been quite inspiring. So for the benefit of our listeners, why don't we start with how you got into IT and a brief on your career trajectory?
First of all, thanks, Raghu. Nice to see you. Nice to meet up with you, even though it's a video only, not in person. Nice to meet up with you. I know I still remember when you came to my home in Radhakrishnan Salai before we joined IISc, and then you came to IISc and we were together. And of course, before that in Vivekananda College, we didn't know each other, but we synced up in IISc. And it was after that, of course, TBL and everything else, we are kept in touch, and IITB, and we are kept in touch over the years. But I wouldn't say as much as I wished, but as good as it can get, given that we all keep traveling all the time. So, and again, thanks for inviting me to this program. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'll be happy to share with you and the audience whatever experience, whatever views I have, and we'll be open to any comments and suggestions and so on. Okay. So just to see how I got into IT, it's actually when I was an IISc and I graduated out in '78, and that time software was not very well known. Okay, I did ECE, and I somehow was very interested in software right from the BSc days, because mathematics days, where we learned programming and automated theory from a professor from IIT Madras who came to college in the evenings and thought somehow it was almost like love at first sight, even though computers were not well known at the time. The software, I was the only weird guy who did software project in BE, and everybody looked at me like I was a kind of a strange, weird guy from another planet or something like that. And at the end of the course, I got an offer in the software job in Tata Burroughs, and when I took that, people were saying, that ECE, the dream jobs are either Bharat Electronics or IT. I hope you don't mind me saying the name, because that is the situation in 1978, and almost like condolence that people asked me. I said, what can I do? I somehow like software, I enjoy software, and therefore I went into software. So it was not for great amount of money, and those days the salary for software engineers was nowhere near the enormous amounts you get now. So, but still, the passion for software is there, and that's why I moved into software. So nowadays you find almost everybody and the grandfather going into software, right? They do be civil engineering and then go to software. That kind of thing was not there for me. I went into software because I love software, especially system software and that kind of thing. So that's how I got into software. And then a couple of years I spent in Tata Burroughs, and we were the first batch there. Incidentally, in almost my entire career, most of the time I'll be the first batch of something, So, and guinea pig who goes in and not knowing what's in store, we just go and then explore and stretch our imagination, stretch our luck and try something. So I was the first batch there, and it continued. A kind of first batch syndrome continued. So in most of the other places where most of the other projects or endeavors I tried on, I was the first guy to come in, and it is just a question of trying out something there. And you can call it adventurism, you can call it foolhardiness, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's just the enjoyment of trying something new and going into uncharted territories was something that always fascinated me. So there we started. I spent a couple of years in PBL, and then I wanted to complete my master's, so I came back to IIT Madras. And I did my project in IIT Madras. I did a master's in my research, not the coursework, because most of the coursework I had completed in BE. That's a great thing about IISc is that you can do ME courses at BE level. So most of the courses I completed. So I didn't find any joy in sitting through classes and writing exams for things that I already know and have practiced. And especially the industry experience helped a lot. The training we got when I joined Tata Burroughs is a wonderful training, and that has stood me in a lot of stead over the years. Because, for example, they teach you about how to document your code and how to write proper code and how to work in teams. Our BE projects are all solo projects. We just don't work with anybody else. And this is a wonderful experience. So I did not feel like doing the coursework again. I mean, we had to do some minimal coursework for MS, but I took on research, and I took on a project on program generators. This is a system software project, which is generating program for the application world. So it was at that time, it was not very well known. Today, we talk of a lot of automatic programming and all that. That was something radically new those days. My guide, Professor C.R. Muthukrishnan from IIT Madras, really helped a lot. And the project was a great success because we presented in this Computer Society of India annual student convention, and that won the national gold medal. So that got a lot of encouragement to me, a lot of fillip to my morale, and I continued with the idea of trying new all the time. And that's the time when HCL came up and they said they're going to start a division in Singapore, and they were moving from mini computers and microcomputers to mainframe databases. Okay, that time Oracle was the Far East Computers is the name of the company which HCL set up in Singapore, and they were distributors for Oracle at the time, Oracle database. In fact, Oracle as a product existed, but Oracle as a company was called Relational Software Incorporated. They were much smaller. They were much smaller at the time. So HCL took up the distributor and then distributorship of Oracle. And my job was to be the pre-sales and post-sales guy, going and installing, going with the salespeople, selling Oracle in the entire ASEAN region. And then once we sell it, then the tough job of supporting the product comes later. So we cannot, as a pre-sales support guy, we have to tread very carefully, but we don't want to promise the moon. At the same time, we have to be optimistic of the product. So it was a very nice experience. So I traveled over entire ASEAN, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, China. I went and did the first installation of Oracle in China back in, 84, 85, something like that. Okay, so maybe 86. So it's a lot of good. And in fact, at that time, my team, I was the first guy in the team, and then there were a couple of others who senior to me in terms of management, and I was given a free hand in terms of technology and implementation and so on. So we got the Oracle installed in many locations in Indonesia, Thailand, and China, and so on. And at that time, I had an offer to take a 1 year. The Oracle headquarters called me for a year, where I could go and spend a year in Oracle headquarters as an FEC employee, but doing some contract work in terms of QA and so on. So I moved to the US for a year in 87, 88. My job there was to set up the QA environment for the mainframe, because a lot of the customers whom we sold in the Singapore area were mainframe customers. And Oracle was at that time primarily more very popular on VAX and just coming up on mainframes. Okay, so I had of course used Oracle and VAX, but the customers were primarily mainframe customers in that area, 2 or 3 customers. So So my job was to set up the QA environment for Oracle products on the mainframe. That's a very interesting exercise because I came from a customer background because I had installed products, I worked with customers, I knew their problems, I knew their pain points, I knew what was working, what was not working, what could be done better, and so on and so forth. So I put that knowledge into effect at Oracle headquarters in Redwood. At that time, they were in Belmont, California, and that was quite an interesting exercise for a year. And then I came back to Singapore because I wanted to complete my commitments in Singapore before anything else. We also had some more major customers come for Oracle coming. So another year I worked in Singapore. At that time, Oracle HQ called me to move permanently to their development center in California. So I moved back. A year later, and next 6 years I spent with Oracle headquarters with Oracle in the headquarters in California. Okay? So very, very, very fruitful time. In fact, I cherish a lot of fond memories of my stay in California at that time. Not only because of the weather and nice place and all that, but it was also a place where I learned a lot of new professionals, met a lot of wonderful professionals. Things like how to work with professionals, how to write code, which is production is going to be used by hundreds and thousands of customers. And it's a wonderful experience. During the time, I also decided to upgrade my skills. So I enrolled for a master's degree in Stanford University. So after a couple of years, I had a choice whether I want to go on the technical line or the management line. Again, at that time, I was fairly well versed with the database and the internals and all that. So I did not want to go deeper into. I did not find extra value by doing more technical courses. So I moved to a management course, which is called engineering management. It's basically Stanford's degree for management in the high-tech space. Okay? So roughly 1/3 of the course is on your area of specialization. In my case, computer science and software, and the remaining 2/3 is in the management concepts of organization behavior, marketing, and blah, 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 all the usual marketing, communication, and all that. So I finished the degree also. So around the time I was completing the degree, there was a talk in Oracle about opening a development center in India. And again, my adventurism in me took the better of me. So I was happily settled in the US, very well placed in IBM mainframe job, and I had it's a reasonably small group. It's not, development groups are not hundreds and thousands of people. It's probably about 20 people in my group. So, but that grew from zero. I was the first guy in the QA group there, and then moved it and grew it, and then grew the other parts also, and then set up processes and all that. So I could have stayed back in California for the rest of my life and enjoyed the life there and enjoyed the professional atmosphere also there. When they said they're going to start a development center in Bangalore, they asked for volunteers. Everybody else was wise. They did not volunteer. They did not want to stick their neck out. I was otherwise. So I decided to stick my neck out and say, I'll try it out for a year. So I came here in '94 primarily to do technology transfer for a particular Oracle product here, or a project here. That was my charter, to stay for 1 year and go back to US and continue my happy life there. So I came here, and then during that year, we started in a small hotel room. Okay, that's all we had. A small hotel room, half my bedroom size. And then it became 5 rooms like that. We had 15 people working in that 5 rooms. And this is pre-internet days. So our network operations people will wire out all the Ethernet connections or SunSpark stations and all that. And we had only the telephone line from the hotel. We didn't have mobile phones, obviously. We didn't have internet. So if we had to transfer software from Bangalore to Redwood Shores, then we had to use the QIC tapes, quarter-inch cartridge tapes. So we did the projects there, and remarkably, we delivered on the first year. We delivered quite a few projects on time, and it was becoming interesting. And also, my job expanded. I expanded my job. Nobody asked me. The great thing about a company like Oracle is, they give you freedom to stretch yourself to do what you want. And then, of course, you have to deliver the results, but nobody places curbs on you to do this way, do that way kind of thing. So and nobody says you should do this. This is your job. That is not your job, and that kind of thing. So the nice thing was that when I came here, not many people understood Oracle as a company. Everybody knew relational database, and that's about it. Nobody knew that there is a company behind the relational database. And if company A and company B produce relational databases, the companies are not the same, right? There are market forces, there are organization cultures, there are this history, blah, blah, blah. And India was probably aware of the technical aspects of databases, technical aspects of what a relational database is and stuff like that. But they really, the awareness of, if two companies A and B produce their relational databases, the perception was there's no difference between the two companies, which is really not the case, isn't it? A lot depends on the company, a lot depends on the history, a lot depends on the organization culture and all that, right? So my job, and we had to go and recruit quality people. We are not recruiting in hundreds. We are recruiting in maybe dozen people, something like that, But ours was high-end kind of software work. So I could not afford to go and hire the bottom rankers, guys, and I don't have anything. I'm not a believer in ranks, but I have to have computer science people. And I have to have qualified computer science people who are good in fundas. It's not like just coding, right? The fundas about data structures and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when I go to a campus, they will ask you how many people you're going to hire. And I say, I'll hire 5 or 6 or something like that. They will look at us as aliens. The campus people look at us as aliens. Why should they suffer? Whereas the companies will come and hire dozens and hundreds of people, which I can get done easily. Why should I? So it was a hell of a fight. It was a hell of a fight to get the top talent. So most of my time in the next 3-4 years was in establishing processes for hiring, establishing contacts for hiring, not just colleges, but also good places to hire. For example, if you are looking for a particular skill set, we did some research and find out where do you go to get that skill set. If you want forms, where do you go for skill set? If you want database, which company do you go for? So that kind of work happened, and a lot of time went in interviews. And building the score team. In fact, out of the first maybe about 300 people, 400 people, almost everybody I personally interviewed and selected them. Last year, we had a get-together of the alumni of Oracle, mostly the startup team. When I say startup, it's probably until about 200, 300. And most of them and me remembered how our interviews were. So it was a very delightful experience. Because that was the core team. I think the core team is good, everything else is good, right? So put a lot of focus in it. And one of the things that happened was because of this fact that we were not hiring in 50s and 100s, which is what a lot of other companies did, we will not always get it was tough to get a good slot for interview. And you know what I mean, right? If you go on second day, everybody is gone. Everybody is gone because they will go to the companies which hire in dozens, right? And they also have the dream job concept where a lot of institutions had dream job concept where I can take the quote unquote safe job first and then wait for my dream job and take the dream job and then reject the safe job, right? The problem was nobody knew that there was not enough knowledge floating around to choose the dream jobs. A lot of time the dream job was based on hearsay, which is more often than not, what should I say, not factual. Okay, so I figured out that if I have to continue to hire the best of talent, I have to do something innovative. I cannot be simply going by the stream of things and say get an interview slot and 15th day after the interview starts and then don't find my top guys there. So that is how I started teaching. It is not an accident, but it was a planned move. But I never expected I'd go to be a teacher for the rest of my life. But I started teaching so what happened was about 4 or 5 of us who are also passionate about teaching. And the whole important point is, unless you're passionate about something, don't do it. So that's like going to software, right? And I could have stayed with BEL or something, but if that is not passionate for me, I won't do it, right? So there are 3 or 4 of us who are very passionate about teaching. So what we did was we said, okay, each of us took up on one college or university as our pet college, where we can go and talk to students and things like that, and spend extra hours after work and start teaching the students there. Okay, so that is how I started teaching. I started teaching in Anna University. Anna University, I taught database courses and operating systems and a bunch of courses like that. So what this gave me was, and in fact, it was a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the university because to teach this course, you need qualified faculty who are ready to teach, and it's tough to find qualified faculty. And the staff of the university were already fully loaded with other courses and so on. So they were more than happy to get somebody from industry, somebody qualified from the industry, come and speak, and with no cost or nothing for them. No? So it is more or less a freebie for them. From my point of view, from the company's point of view, the benefit was see the student from close quarters for 6 months, not a 20-minute interview, not a 20-minute interview that they get in the 15th day of the interview start of the season starting, but through the semester, before they are going in for campus interviews, I got an opportunity to interact with them in very close quarters for 6 months or for 4 months or whatever the semester duration was. And that is a big plus because I could study them from close quarters. There's only so much you can have, even though we say we are good interview people, there are only so much you can do in a 20-minute interview. But seeing them for 6 months, they can't con us, right? We get extra data points to validate us. And from the student's point of view, then of course, there are some who are very good in college, but when they come to industry, they fail miserably because they can't work in teams, or they can't work in deadlines, or they don't understand the non-academic nature of work at industry, blah, 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 right? So what I did was, after studying them, they studied my course, I studied them. Okay, so after studying them for about 6 months, the last semester project, I got a cream of them into the company, okay, to work as summer interns. Again, it's a win-win-win for everybody because from university's point of view, they were able to get 4 or 5 of their 30 people readily packed off for the summer placement. Otherwise, they'll have to do a lot of campaigns. So that kind of thing was not there. So I took 4 or 5 every year. This happened for 4 or 5 years. It's good for the company because we could see whether the guys who are filtered on the basis of academic performance, can they survive in the tough industry environment? And from this point of view of the guys or gals, it's very good because they get free industry exposure. They also get a pocket money of, I don't know, some small stipend, which doesn't cost us much as a company, but for them it's a big money to start with, right? And their resume will look much better. The resume will look much better saying that they worked at Oracle, right? So for 6 months or whatever. So typically those days, the last semester was the industry project. ME was 3 semesters of coursework and 1 semester of project. So they'll spend 6 months. So there's enough time for us to gauge them, enough time for me to gauge them the academic side, and enough time for the team leads and the other directors to gauge them at work. So by the time we decided out of 6 people, say I get 2 or 3 can be hired, I know that these 3 are good. And not only I know, but my direct reports and my second level direct reports will also know they are good. So there's a sense of confidence and when they walk into the job, they are ready for the job. So it worked well for everybody. And that was great. That was really great. And I was so happy that similarly, my other colleagues who went to teach in Bangalore, I chose Anna University because Chennai, I've got a fascination. So it gave me an excuse to be in Chennai. So that was a welcome thing for me. And the guys in Bangalore went to other colleges there, and they also did similar scouting and then got more people. So our need of freshers we could meet without having to stand in line in front of a placement officer saying, I'll hire 7 people, 8 people. And we got the cream. So that worked out well. What really happened in this process was that I got interested in teaching. I thought I did not know I could teach. To be honest, I did not know I could teach, and it's a welcome experience for me to teach. And around that time, around maybe 1999, after about 5-6 years of building the team, my team grew from 0 to probably about 350 engineers, 400 engineers, and the overall team being 450 or something like that, including the admin and finance. I was only doing the technology part of it, not the admin, not the finance, but I had a lot of say in HR because interviewing and career mapping and all those things I got involved. So it is also an opportunity for me to apply whatever I learned in Stanford and right here. At that time, the Hyderabad Center also got opened. I got involved in it to some extent. What happened at that time was that somebody had written a book on Oracle Forms. Not me, somebody in India had written a book on Oracle Forms. And McGraw-Hill was going to publish the book. We are looking for somebody qualified to review the book. Okay, so they found my name from some other source and said, "Sir, can you review this book for me?" So they sent me the book. It's about 300 pages book. So anything that comes to my review, with my guys will remember that I'll tear it apart and I'll rip it apart with a lot of critical comments. Of course, constructively critical comments, not just to tear it apart. So I gave a lot of comments, lot of critical comments to the author, so that how we can improve and what needs improvement, where are the mistakes, and blah blah blah. Because I worked with forms for quite a while. And the McGraw asked me, "Sir, you're writing such a good review. Why don't you write a book yourself?" And so, who the hell has time for writing a book here? It's like a monstrous job, and I don't even know I can write a book. I don't know what can I write a book on. And then I asked them, I said, whatever you're comfortable with, write, sir, with your qualifications, with your background, I'm sure the book will sell. And I said, the only thing I've been doing in the last several years is how to set up global teams and how to manage global teams and how to manage projects within geographically distributed teams. And will this be of interest to you? And I asked him, and I was skeptical. I was skeptical whether first of all, whether I could write, and second, whether such a thing would be useful for them. And they said, "Sir, definitely yes, sir." Immediately they came up and they came up with a proposal and so on. But let me tell you, book writing is a very tedious job. It's not the same amount of time I invest in something else. I can probably earn more money, but there's a lot of satisfaction. So they liked the book. So I started writing the book. I completed the book in about 9 months while working at Oracle, while traveling to the US maybe 6-7 times a year. So good, because a lot of long flights, and those days we didn't have power outlets in the plane. So I could work for about 2 hours till the battery lasted, and then shut off my laptop, and then the next airport recharge my battery and work for another 2 hours. So most of the book was written in traveling. We'll go traveling by train, plane, bullock cart, whatever it is, right? So the book did very well, and it won the national award for the best book by IISc, which is the Indian Society of Technical Documentation. And immediately the same year, they translated the book in Chinese. And that is when I said, okay, maybe I can do teaching, maybe I can do writing. If I continue, I could have continued in my current role, but transferring this knowledge to others would have a bigger impact on the society as a whole. And why don't you do it? It's a tough call, because I have not worked anywhere else for that long, and it's a tough call for me to quit. But I made a tough call. Again, I said I will go out of my comfort zone, and so I moved. And then after that, I written 8 books on the technical and soft skills areas: software testing, software project management, software maintenance, soft skills. So a lot of books, and a couple of books have been translated to Chinese, and still some of the books are followed in about 40-50 universities worldwide. So it's a lot of satisfaction. So that's how I moved into writing and teaching back into 2002, leaving my plush job at Oracle and wanting to do this. Because I wanted to do this. It's a passion that I enjoyed. Even now I write books, but more on the religious side, which is where my focus is now. So over the next maybe 15 years, I taught in multiple colleges. IIT Madras, my alma mater. Then we started teaching in IIM Bangalore, and then Anna University, of course, XLRI, bunch of places. Triple ITB, of course. Triple ITB is one place where I taught a lot of times, a lot of courses. So it was a wonderful experience teaching, reaching out to students, interacting with students, giving them some guidance on career, telling them how they can crack the interviews, what do people look for in interviews, all this kind of stuff. So it's a very enjoyable journey. So that's what I've been doing over the last few years. And of course, now I've moved more into social work. I worked with an NGO called Sevalaya, which it believes in moral education. So I wrote a book in Tamil for moral education based on the principles of Bharatiyar, Mahatma Gandhi, and Swami Vivekananda. And that book has being used in a lot of Tamil Nadu schools. The donors then asked, "Look, I understand Tamil, I like the Tamil, but my kids who have grown up abroad, they can't read Tamil. Can you write it in English?" So I rewrote in English, and the donors abroad are using it for the kids. And I am also passionate about people with special needs, differently able people. There's a book called Gifted, written by SAP's Senior Vice President Feroz, and about 15 differently able people who have come big in life. So I translated the Tamil, so that they reach people should know about what is the differently able and what the societal responsibilities are for the society to accept them. So I do a bunch of things. I enjoy life. So that is probably a long summary of my. I hope it's not too long.
Yeah, wonderful, Ramesh. So multiple questions coming or triggered by this. First is you always seem to be having parallel interests or multiple
Yeah,
interests. Okay,
yeah,
now
yeah.
the two things are, one is how do you balance the interest or pick the interest, and second is how do you find time to pursue multiple interests?
Now, first question is how do you find the interest? It just pops up. I think it just pops up, and lot of times it pops up by necessity. Like my teaching popped up by necessity. It's not as if I had a grand strategic vision that I should teach. I just started teaching so that we can get access to the right people. So that's how it started. And similarly, writing books started again by accident. I don't imagine that I was ever going to be a writer or a teacher in my life. I thought I was going to be in the industry, traveling around all the time and busy and so on, right? But it just things usually pop up. That's all I think. I would not. I mean, if I claim that I did everything according to strategic plan and all that, maybe true. It's not as if it happened by accident, but you have to. It pops up. Okay, that's one thing. Second, I think if you follow your interest, if you follow your passion, things will happen. Okay, like right from my job. Now, I could have stayed back in a ITI kind of job. No, there's nothing wrong with it. No, nothing wrong, because these were the plum jobs for BEC students those days. Somehow I followed my passion. Even though people condoled me for going to software at the time, I went there because nobody else worked on software. And believe me, in BE at that time, not many people worked on software. Everybody was working on. If you are an ECE student, you will work on communication, microwave networks, radars, and analog circuits, digital circuits, blah blah blah. And if you are in EE, they will work on power systems and so on and so forth. So going to software was a kind of a weirdo kind of act. So you follow your passion. That's the first thing. And the thing is that now, if you keep on doing this may be controversial or it may not be a correct statement. If you can always keep on doing what you're doing, no problems. But after some time, you'll get bored. Okay, so you have to have some variety in life. You'll have to have some variety in life, and that's where the option of teaching or writing came. Now, the question is how do you find the time for it? And that's left to you. And in one of the interviews, a college kid asked me, is your job a 9 to 5 job? I say, me and my colleague were interviewing, and without batting an eyelid, I told him, yeah, my job is a 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. job. The fellow didn't understand what I was saying, and my guy next to me and my colleague started bursting into laughter. And the guy was looking, they don't know what was happening. But that's the fact of life. And if you have to achieve something, you have to put the extra effort. Again, I did my master's in Stanford when I was working there. And I had a family with 2 kids. So my day will extend from, my class will start at 8 in the morning, and we can't go late to the class. They'll ding us with grades if we go late. So I have to leave home at 7. Okay. And after finishing the class, I come back to my office and I work till 9. But I will allocate maybe a couple of hours in the evening for my kids. Okay. So again, 9 o'clock, my day will start. So 9 to 2 again will be my day for studies. And of course, since we're working from home, even those days, we could work from home, and then I can do my compilation and testing and so on. Initiate a job on my home terminal, and then start doing my assignments and so on. So really, believe me, it was long hours. But the point is, the long hours were never at the expense of the family, or never at the expense of an imbalance of work and work-life imbalance was not there. So you will have to do it. You'll have to do it. If you really want to achieve it, you'll have to do it. And you need a support from the family also. Yes, I used to go, and my kids probably sometimes they go to bed, and next time when they wake up, they won't find me because I already gone to the class. Similarly, here, I used to travel almost every campus, travel as much as possible. And I prefer to travel to the south because traveling too much to the north, my food problems will come. As a vegetarian, sometimes you may not get the proper food and so on, and all the campuses. So almost all the south universities, like all the states in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and so on, I visited almost every college there, every good college there, RECs and IITs and so on. Those days, very few private colleges like SSM and SRM were there. So other than most of the colleges I visited, so a lot of travel, and that automatically gives you time. That automatically gives you time to do other things. So it's a question of optimally utilizing time. And definitely yes, you will have to put extra time. It's not as if you can just have a 9 to 5 job and then 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. job and get everything done. Not possible. You will have to give the extra time.
And you also mentioned many instances when you are taking risks or jumping into something new, right? Something that you hadn't done before or something quite different. So this is one question that I get often, particularly from mid-career people, to say that now should I continue to be a manager? Then, okay, I have the title, I have people, I have control, but actually I'm not very happy. But should I be technical and be an individual contributor, but then will I be valued, or what should I do? So what would be your advice to that?
Follow your passion. Again, the same answers, follow your passion. There are some people who have remained individual contributors for their life. I don't know, in a good technical company, it's always possible. It's always possible. But again, if you want to be a manager, are you happy just being a manager and moving papers? That's one thing. And you have to ask what your passion is. And there is no one answer for everybody. There are people who are happy with that kind of power in their hand. There are people who are happy with people waiting in the doors for meetings back to back. Yes, I went through that phase of my career as a senior editor at Oracle. There will be a lot of meetings, and there will be a lot of issues to resolve, blah blah blah. But is that what you want to do for all your life? That's a question you have to ask yourself. I always had a passion to do something different. Call it risk taking. Yes, it is risk taking. If you fail, you fail. For example, when I came to India from the US, I came only on a 1-year assignment. Nobody gave us job spec to do. You have to do this. Beauty was that you can do what you think is right for the organization. So if I fail, supposing I had failed at the time, I could always have moved back to the US and continued my 100% technical job. I mean, small team was there, 10, 12 people, 15 people, but there's nothing like growing a team and all those business development. None of that was there, right? So I could have continued. So there was a fallback option. Every time there was a fallback option. What would have happened if I had failed in my academic endeavors? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look for another job. Though, having worked at a good company like Oracle, will I go and work somewhere else? I don't know. I might not have been happy. Fortunately, things panned out. It's not as if let me say, it's not my wonderful wisdom that got everything through. There's a good amount of providence in that. There's a good amount of risk taking in that, and fortune favors the brave. So you will have to take the risk. And it's not a mad risk. I knew when I did the shift to academia in about when I was about 45, right? So at that time, no, thank God, financially I was not dependent on anything else. I could. It is not for finance I was doing it, right? If I was doing the finance, I would have continued in my job forever. Knowing that I quit Oracle, one headhunter called me and said, "Sir, now that you are at Crossroads, I'll offer you a CEO job." I said, "Please stop. I am not at Crossroads. I know what I'm doing." So you'll have to. Literally, I'm telling you, I got this call, and this is the thing he told. And I told him to his face, "I'm not at Crossroads. I know what I'm doing." I mean, maybe I pissed him off. Maybe I put him off. Maybe afterwards he didn't call me at all. I don't care. Okay, so you will have to have some amount of determination. Yes, you don't take the risk at 25. I would not have taken the risk at 25. I'm still conservative enough that I took the risk only at 45, right? So, and even at the time, I had enough ammunition, not just financially, but also in terms of skills required. Now, if I had not done my Stanford degree, I would not have ventured for this. They taught me. Working with people in California taught me what is professionalism. Working in Singapore taught me what is customer facing. And rubbing shoulders with some of the great founders of HCL gave me the confidence that you have to be tough, but you don't have to be ruthless, right? You don't have to be mercenary. You don't have to be what should I say? Go for the kill kind of thing, right? So there's a balance, you're right. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy, and I would not claim that I have a magic formula for that. The key is that you follow your passion. Please follow your passion, and that's something I've done all my life, and I have no regrets about it.
Yeah, you partly answered the next question that came to my mind, which is after being a techie, when you came to India to start this, and when you mentioned the alumni get together after so many years of Oracle, what is Ramesh's magic in terms of leadership that set that kind of a culture or that establishes that kind of a relationship with so many people?
It's not only Ramesh, credit goes to the entire team. We had a team which had healthy interactions. We had a team which focused on having diverse viewpoints. Okay? When we made the selections, we never selected somebody exactly like us, because then one of us will be useless anyway, right? So we had a really wonderful team, and then the credit goes to the entire team. And my boss, my VP, used to mention that you have to we should argue as much as we want during the meetings. We should disagree as much as we want, but then we should be, at the end of the day, we should be able to go for a cup of coffee outside. Now I use a different phrase for that. I say you should disagree, but not be disagreeable. Okay? That's my catchphrase. We disagree a lot. Not just work. We at home, same thing happens, right? We all disagree for this and that, but it's not a question of this being disagreeable. There's subtle difference, very subtle difference. You have to be prepared to go for a cup of coffee with the guy with whom you had a vehement argument in the meeting room just an hour back, right? That won't happen unless there's a trust and faith. That won't happen. The whole idea was creating that atmosphere of faith, creating that atmosphere of trusting each person, and giving everybody the freedom to do what they want. You don't roll up your sleeves and jump into decision making every time. Then you're not going to motivate the people, right? You are at the same time, when you have to make a decision, you make a decision, right? Because you know that you can override, but if override is not an exception but it's a rule, then you are going to demotivate people, right? So it's a question of giving the rope, and then also question of giving them freedom. Somebody asked, I think a couple of days back on Facebook, somebody asked about what is it, and this is a question asked to me in IIT in the management program I taught there. Somebody asked me, sir, you have exactly the same question you asked. You have been in a technical role and then you have kind of moved to senior management role. And what is the main thing for that? I said, there's only one thing. As a technical guy, you have all the answers. As a senior management guy, you have all the questions. Okay, you should know what questions to ask.
Nice.
And when the guy with more information on the other side of the table tells you the answer, you must have the value judgment to say, yeah, your answer is right or your answer is wrong. So the art of asking questions is what makes a good management guy. Not having all the answers. Especially, I'm talking of 95 where we did not have internet. Today, whatever I want to find out, I can go to Google and find out. So I don't need to have the answers. All I need to know is what questions to ask you. Now, I'll just give you an example. You interview a candidate, right? Generally, they talk about their BTech project or MTech project, right? So they know best about their MTech project. No doubt about it. I don't know their MTech project like what they do, right? But I have to ask questions to make sure they understood the MTech project. At some point of time, we can get them really confuse the hell out of them to see what did they do as a MTech project. So maybe that's the success of a good interview or anything.
Yeah.
Just a later. No, I don't mean what I said.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Before we close, there's one question that I normally ask all my guests, which is, what is your advice for people considering a career in IT today or say in the near future?
Today, tell me who is not considering a career in IT? Everybody wants a career in IT. Everybody wants a career in IT. So when you say career, I presume real career, not just a few lakhs to start so your dowry value increases. No, that's not what I mean by career. But a lot of times people perceive that few lakhs at the beginning to increase the dowry value, either for the boy or the girl, doesn't matter. So that is the career. So I'm not addressing that segment of population which has a very myopic view of career. Okay, so I'm talking of people who really know what's a career is. Okay, I think first thing is don't jump into IT unless you want to do it. No, I know of I know of a case where one particular child was very wanting, and call them children, don't worry about it. In the school and time of leaving school, she was very passionate about biological sciences. For somehow, because of peer pressure, she joined computer science. I think that's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing. You take computer science, or again, I still refer to computer science. I don't use the term IT, because we all grew up as computer science people and software engineering people. When there was a little bit of science and engineering in what we did. Today, there's nothing. There's only copy paste mostly. Sorry for my rather rude statement. The point is, be passionate about what you do. Unless you are passionate, unless you are able to express your passion, don't be afraid to express your passion. Right? I'll give you one example where one of the first projects we did here was the software. I'm always passionate about software testing. That's a good part of my career I spent on software testing. So back in '94, software testing was almost like a pariah in most places. Either you should be doing quote unquote development, which is the people for coding, nothing more than that. Okay, if you do software testing, your low rank people will do software testing with the kind of mindset that was there. But we put our foot down, and if anybody calls software testing, then I will shout at them. Now, shout at them not in the literal sense of yelling at them, but bring some sanity. And believe me, there are no conferences in software testing at the time. We were among the first to organize software testing conferences.
Okay.
Because we're passionate about it. And similarly, when I wrote the book, I chose software testing book because that's the best seller still. People still use that. So the point is, be passionate and express the passion. Don't say, I am passionate about software testing. I don't care what you think about it. I will do. If you don't want to come, if you want to do programming, go. And if somebody comes and tells me, sir, I will do testing for two years, will you promote me to development? And anytime somebody says, you promote me from testing to development, I put them in place. It's not a bloody promotion. How can you say it's promotion, right? So express your passion. Have passion and express it. Second, it's very easy, especially today's context, when a fresher gets 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs or whatever ridiculous amount he gets when he passes out into an IT job, it's very easy to be, complacent about it. Very easy to be satisfied with it. Very easy to say, okay, what's the next mobile phone I can buy kind of thing. All that is fine. All that is fine. But unless you upgrade your skills, okay, you're going to become useless very shortly. The next generation of kids who come up, they will probably know about more new things than you do. And unless you keep your skills upgraded, you can never succeed, especially in our field. Maybe in a more static field you can, but in our field, continuous skill upgrade is very essential. Again, that's why I did my degree at Stanford, and even after being a senior director here, I did my CQA certification. Not because I learned anything new in CQA certification or anything like that. It's just a question of revalidating yourself, and then even writing a book is like writing an exam. Even worse, it's so tough to, when you write a book, you know how much you don't know, right? So you have to do this kind of skill upgrades. You have to do the skill upgrades, and while doing that, you can also develop others. And this is one thing that happens with people who are parochial about management. If I tell all my things to my next level, he will grow up, I will become useless for my job. You should become useless for your job. If you don't become useless for your job, you'll become indispensable. And if you become indispensable, you will be stuck in the same place for the rest of your life. So you have to grow, you have to let others grow. And only when others grow, you can, the nature abhors vacuum. So when you move up, somebody else comes to your place, and then somebody else comes to their place, and so on and so forth. So grow, develop others, develop your skills and develop others. Don't have this, what shall we say? Don't have this feeling of job insecurity. There's enough jobs for everybody in this whole world. Okay, don't have this job. That's again a very radical thought. This is something that I definitely believe in. Always try to go out of the comfort zone. Yes, you talked about risk take, right? Exactly. If you stay in your comfort zone, you'll keep doing what you can do. No, just imagine if all the time you have to do, all you have to do is do what is 2 plus 3, what is 12 plus 25, what is 45 minus 22. Of course you can do it, but it's so boring. Life is so boring, right? So you have to stretch your legs. Our maths teachers did a great thing by teaching us, making us solve those difficult problems. This is what keeps you interested in mathematics. If you just do derivative of sine 2x, derivative of sine 3x, and derivative of sine 25x, you ain't going to learn anything new. So go out of your comfort zone. It's okay, you'll make mistakes. You will make mistakes, but if you don't make mistakes, you are not going to learn anything, right? And second career is always, you have mentioned about that. I think the second career is not insurance. It's a good diversion. So this is something that's important. Have a second career. So with these kind of things, it's not always exhaustive solution, but it works. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's all customized to a particular person. Okay, what works for me may not work for somebody else. What works for somebody else may not work for me. So play by the ear, but these general rules always work. Generally, they work.
Yeah. On that note, Ramesh, thank you once again for not only sharing your interesting career trajectory, but also these tips for both beginners as well as people who have been going through some possibly midlife crisis. I hope to catch you on a few other topics of your current interests and other things in a later conversation.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for talking to me, Shiv, and look forward to meeting you in person sometime.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.